So my name is Simon Cho. CICD is basically we are talking about continuous integration and continuous deployment. And then I'm coming from the Nowcom cell phone. And then there is a lot of the resources out there on the online, pretty much these days online. 24 hours past, you guys pretty much knows that. Local group, I was also learning on one of the local group in Los Angeles. And then Secret Saturday, Marathon, and the virtual group. There is a lot of virtual groups out there. You might want to take a look at it. Basically, Secret Saturday, you need to travel to, somewhere. But virtual group, you can just attend it through the online. And then this is completely free. And then also in the Secret Pass, if you apply for the volunteer, it's not just Secret Pass. In the pass itself, you can apply for volunteer. On the Secret Pass, like this summit, you can apply for the volunteer. You can come in as a free. They give you the free full session ticket. So maybe next year you can try something like that. Yeah, that's me. I was working in the Visa INC a little bit, and then I'm learning SQL Angels in the local group. I've been in the SQL Server since SQL Server 7.0. 7.0, I don't have much experience, but SQL Server 2000 was, yeah, pretty much I tied with that before. And then this presentation I uploaded already in my blog, so you can take a look at it later. Also, the SQL Pass will be uploaded together, so you can take a look later. Please complete the evaluation after the session. I'm actually first timer on the SQL Pass speaker. I've been speak many times in SQL Saturday. I want to get the feedback from you, and then I want to learn together what is how is my content delivery working. So please complete the session evaluation. That will help me a lot. All right, let's get in. We are talking about today, most likely, all about database deployment. If you have any question about something a little bit complicated cases, please come in after the session. We can definitely answer for you. But today's session is pretty much I'm give you overall scope how it's working individual cases. I have a lot of slides. I'm not sure I'm able to get into the demo exactly, but I'm going to try it. Okay? So if we have problem like this, on the Tuesday night we have deployment, database maintenance is going on this time, index rebuild is happening, you have frustrated like this, then this is the right session for you. People think about the database maintenance, something like that. Maybe we need to go to individual sequence like this, first gear, second gear, exactly timing the match, and then we need to working like this. And then sometimes we present that way. However, pretend that way. But actually, I know that I've been learning all the database stuff for a while. We pretty much doing like this. and sometime later, you need to wait for their testing and complete the next step. That's the, not like all the database. Mission critical database, yeah, sometimes I see that really complicated cases. But like small database, when they ask about deployment, you just learn the script F5. Why database CI/CD is so important? Before 2005, typically one DBA maintains about 1 to 5 physical servers. And then in the 1 to 5 physical server, we typically have 1 to 10 databases. And then all databases was super critical. It's supposed to be taken care of very well, like babies. We need to take it really well. That was pretty much, in my experience, before 2005, that was our goal. After 2005, the way of the database is dramatically changed. 2, 4, 5 DBAs maintains literally more than 100 SQL servers. Who has more than 100 SQL servers running? Yeah, look at that. How many? I need to manage about 100 SQL servers. Yeah, there's a lot. And Doesn't matter in the VM or physical, you have tons of the SQL servers running. More than 200 databases you are running. However, critical database might be very less, like 5 to 10% only. You pretty much care about these databases, less of 90%. I don't care. Maybe sometimes it goes down, but put up, that's fine. It can go to online. Many of the log database are running that way. Also, that is one of the industry movement. Okay, this kind of a non-care database, we want to put on the NoSQL database, which is a DBA is not involved together. Software team can developer, I want to maintain it. That type of the industry also changes. Then, do you have any guess after 2020? It's really left about less than 2 months. Maybe it will take a little bit longer, but answer is there. This guy will take care. So this is not just public cloud. In my guess, I don't know how many DBAs require, need for that, but I think it's about plus 1,000 containers. We're going to run it, some of the big companies. And then pretty much one database running on one container. And then critical database might be not in the container, might be still in the physical machine, but pretty much maybe less than 1%. That's my guess. This is I'm not talking about just public cloud. There is many private cloud as well. You can create your private cloud on your primary on-prem. So there's a lot of solution still can go to the cloud. But cloud is a feature. I mean, when I'm also working on the Kubernetes, when you see the Kubernetes, I don't know how many people went to the Bob World session. Man, this is great. The FCI failover cluster, do you need enterprise edition? No. Kubernetes can take care. So that is great. So I see a lot of feature on the container. So if you don't have chance to work on the Kubernetes, please take a look at it. So without CI/CD, we cannot cover all. This is not possible. Even the hundreds of SQL server we are learning, that is pretty much hard where these things are going on. This is pretty much not possible. So what I'm covering in this stage, who is want to learn the CI/CD in the very beginning, CI/CD will cover about 90% of your work. You have a mission critical database. That one, still we may need to take care properly. But in our company, actually, there is two folk also coming from our company. We are running 99% of the SQL Server deployment maintenance through the CI/CD. Even the mission critical server, we deploy through the CI/CD. But still, we do the manual work, such as some of the ETL need to run like a 3-hour mandatory. We need to do the manual work. That is the CI/CD cannot help for that because unknowing things can be possible to going. But what I'm saying that majority part you can make automation, majority part. Let's learn about how application CI/CDs work. Then let's compare that how the database CI/CDs work. This is application deployment step. So we have application team has a source control. We put on pretty much these days Git. We put on all the source control on the Git, and then this is build. The build result will be exe file, DLL, something like that. And then when we make a deployment, we stop the service, stop the SSIS, or stop the anti-service, or whatever fancy term you say that, like, we need to stop and switch it somewhere. And then copy the file over there, and then start as IIS, anti-service, then done. This is the pretty much application perspective deployment concept. Maybe there is some little more step, but this is pretty much big step is going this way. This is what I call stainless and then multi-master application deployment. Stainless means it doesn't have the data. You can just replace it entirely. And then multi-master means you have the multiple node. One node goes down, it doesn't affect your application live traffic. I just want to quick show you how DevOps team or application team represent this step. So like this. There is a lot of details actually is there. We might need to learn all these things later, but the basic concept, this is pretty much fine. Okay? So this is database deployment step. So database also need to put on the source control. So we need to put on the Git pretty much these days, and then we need to put on the source control. And then we need to do the build, the same thing. After that, we are not going to start the SQL Server. We cannot do that. We need to generate deployment script against the compare the your source control and the database. Once we generate the script, we can run the script on the SQL Server. That's the completed. This is what I call stateful and then single master application deployment. Stateful means we cannot replace the data. It needs to continuously getting transaction. It continues serving the traffic. And then single master means we cannot bring down the service because our master database, we cannot bring down the service. We may using some terminology of active-active, multi-master, something like that. However, still, even you maintain the active-active, you may still have the what is a primary server. Typically, it's taking about write traffic and everything. This is so much challenging than other application deployment. So let's compare a little bit more. The stainless has no data. It doesn't need to be continuous. And then it has a multi-master, which means on the load balancer is take care about, we have 5 of them, or one of them we can bring down. We replace the exe and then DLL file, bring it up. That's what load balancer and multi-master can do that. Stateful, just stateful is sometimes okay, but especially for the RDBMS, we need to maintain the transaction. We are not able to do the rollback. We need to maintain the transaction. So it has a data. It has supposed to be continuous. And then this is what I call the single master. Typically, write traffic going to one of the server. Let's take a look at the source code Git, what things we need to put on. So are you ready to commit MDF and LDF file on the source code? You're supposed to be not doing that, right? So let's understand what is we need to put on there. We have the schema, and then we have data. Schema, we can define that this is a stainless. Data is stateful. Data need to be continuous. In a schema, we can copy and paste. The SQL Server is not act that way, but schema definition, you can just generate from the scratch. That's possible. But data is not. So schema, we need check. Typically, source control means we need to check in the schema. And then data is continuously change script. We're going to add it. That's how we're going to use pre-deployment and then post-deployment script. I'm going to talk about what things we need to do on the pre- and post-deployment script. And then the SSDT only able to take care about DB project. So which means only the database level of object you can check in, not about the server-related object. I'm going to explain this detail later too. So in the Visual Studio, there is pretty much everyone knows what's the SSDT. So once we install the SSDT, all these rest of the component is coming all together. This is all requirement. There is a NuGet package, C#, and then .NET Framework, 4 point something. These are all coming all together. Once we install the SSDT, the SQL Server project can be built by MS Build, which is the pretty much DevOps team like it using the MS Build. That's the quite good. This is quite tight with our pipeline. So that's the given ability once the MS Build can build a SQL project. And then, so we're going to select the DB project and then install the SSDT. And then very first thing is we need to import our database schema to this DB project. Once we import it, then the GUI look like this. So there is a table, and then some table-related GUI shows this way, and then you pretty much have a script how table look like, and then right side you have all the database object is sitting there together. Database trigger, and then schema, and then function, stored procedure, table, things, etc. That object definition is going there together. And then also we'll have the file group information, and then permission, user, things will come together. But there is a little bit need to be discussion on there. I'm going to explain that one as well. Here, I just tell you before, this is a DB project. And then DB project is created per database. And then this is supposed to be maintained only database project only, database object only. But let's think about it. There is a database permission, and the database permission is tied with database user, and database user tied with server login, Windows login. Windows login is a server level object. So when we look at the login, how we created, that is some of the weird character you can see that. So since login is there, this is server level project, let's make it disabled for now. Then DB user, you cannot go either. DB user need to be disabled as well. And then permission also need to be disabled as well. Otherwise, our build is going to broken. It's my recommendation. There is another workaround, but this is my recommendation for now. And then there is a cross-database procedure. So for example, a SOAP procedure is using another SOAP procedure or another object on the other database. They won't need to come as reference DB project. Otherwise, this build will be failed. So this cross-database procedure, we need to take care a little bit differently. Link to the server, also we need to take care a little bit differently. Link to the server means state of link to the server is not a matter, but your SOAP procedure using the link to the server to get some table, this kind of thing. It also need to reference, we need to adding the reference DB project. This is a little complicated, so if you have some question on there, then please come here after our session. There is some of the link you can take a look at later. So that's how we treat another database, cross-database relationship. There is a bill, so we check in the database, then we need to make a bill. And then build output is backpack. So backpack, you might be heard about it who is using the Azure. Azure backup is come as a backpack, and backpack is typically take care only all the schema information, but by some advanced configuration, you can add the data together. And then, so if the reference is set correctly, build might fail. So we need to fix the reference properly. And then backpack contains all database object, plus it has pre-post deployment script together, which is we have some room to maintain our data change or update some table, something like that. There is a file property, each of the file, and then one is a build, and then none, and pre-deploy, and post-deploy. Let me show you what's look like exactly. Hopefully, what's this? Okay. So I just create an empty project, DB project. This is how it look like. And then I created just test DB, empty DB project. And then you can just right click here and then import. There is 3 options there. Data tier, and then database, and then script. Even the script, you can just import it here directly. But data tier, on the SQL Server, when you connect to the SQL Server to the SSI package, you can abstract it data tier. That is the output file name is backpack. That backpack, you can add it directly here. Another one is you can just connect the database directly, and then this Visual Studio will get the information like a backpack, and then you're going to break down each of the file and then adding onto your project. So once you add it, the project is looking like this. So here, so pretty much we have the first PostScript, prescript, that's what I created, but rest of them is pretty much same. The database trigger, if you have database trigger, there will be database trigger. And then DBO, schema name, each of the schema name, DBO, human resource, person, something like that. By the way, this is Advanced Works 2017. So you probably know that it has a schema. And then it has a production schema. Under the production schema, we have table, blah, 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 and then product table, something like that is there. And then also, so procedure and view also coming. Sorry. If you see here, so here is a function, so procedure, and then user-defined type. Everything get imported. And then here is one of the example of this table how it look like. So pretty much same as a SSIS package. SSMS. When you learn the when you open the data table, it shows each of the definition, and then what's the key, what's the check constraint, and index. This kind of information shows together, and then in the finally it has all the. Where's my cursor? Yeah. Finally, it has all the script. It's a behind the scene. Even it has a little more detail about extended property. These kind of information is coming inside together. So pretty much you can think about it, all database object is coming here. And then let's take a look at the file action, the file property. So this is a product table. Actually, what I did in the product table, I added one of the column. So you notify that I added the column in between of each of the column. And then if I adding like this, what happened? The SSMS will generate rebuild the entire table, right? I will show you how it's working. So I added like this, one, and then it has pretty much all the constraint is there. And then notify that this product table is used by one of the view, which is a schema binding. And then here is a product table, and then it has a indexed view. It has an index as well. But I didn't know that. I only added product table and adding the certain column. This is one of the case. And then let's look at the property. Here is called the build action. So build action has many things, but let's only take a look at the build, and then none, and then post-deploy, and pre-deploy. Refactor log also is kind of important. I'm not going to cover at this time because it will take a while. So build means SQL Server, when we make a build, this project, SQL Server will take care about this schema information and put on the backpack. And then none means when the build is happening, none means this schema information is not added. They don't care, whatever things we written. And the post-deploy and pre-deploy. Pre-deploy means once we have the deck package generated, when it's going to the deploy, it's going to run the pre-script first. After that, compare the schema. After that, it run the post-deployment script. Here is one of the important things. Some of the cases, you may have some challenge to change some schema information. Let's say I need to change the schema name DBO to DBA, something like that. So somehow you added that kind of a statement in the pre-deployment script. Then what happened? Pre-deployment script changed the DBO scheme as a DBA, and then the compare script is actually this one is running everything in the same time. So this generating comparison between the schema, actually it generated before it going to change the DBA to DBO to DBA, and then it's going to generate it. After that, it run the post-deployment script. So unfortunately, if you do the pre-deployment script, change some schema information, this schema comparison doesn't know that event is happened before me. So actually think about you still has a DBO schema. So unfortunately, you shouldn't add any of the schema change inside of pre-deployment and post-deployment. Unless you have really edge cases, this pre and post-deployment only need to take care of what data. Okay, that's how it looks like. I'm going to cover a little bit more later, and then let's go back to here. So this is the 4 types there. And then pre and post deployment, actually entire database project, you can have only one file, one pre-deployment and one post-deployment. You cannot have more than one. That's somewhat challenge. Yeah, this is what we just did, quick glance. So go back to the same conversation. Sorry, I didn't show you the how I change the login information. Actually, yeah, let's quickly take a look at that one. So there is one security folder. Under the security folder, you will have those creating schema, creating user, creating login, and then adding the permission information is there. So this is a login credential by automatically generated. It has SID. Something weird password is there. I'm not crazy. I'm not using this kind of the wrong one for the demo perspective, but it's just generated like that. And then it pretty much pulled the information about default language, check policy, something like that. So since this password and SID information is a little bit different, you will have some of the issue when you make a deployment this one. So I disabled it. How disabled it? As I showed you before in the property, I just put as a none, build action. That's it. And then since I build this creating login, I build user as well. So this one, creating user from the login, I disabled it too. There is one of the blogs saying that we can using the without login. Then when we make a deployment, actually the database user permission certainly gone, and it's not tied anymore with the server login. So please don't do that. So without login also kind of dangerous, very risky. And then there is a permission as well. So it using this simple permission using the DB owner for now, but this one is disabled too. So all 3 of them property I set as a none. So that's how login is disabled, user is disabled. There is a possible actually maintain a couple of the way, but we need to put on the master database as a reference, and then we need to maintain the login from there. That is a little bit complicated. By design, the Visual Studio only take care about database project, so it's not recommended maintain the server object in here. And then it's not friendly to manage it. So probably server object you still want to take care of by manually. Okay, let's talk about the pre-post structure, pre-deployment, post-deployment structure. Pre-deployment script, honestly, I don't see any cases we need to learn the pre-deployment script. I don't know any edge cases you need to have to use a pre-deployment script, but pretty much doesn't need it for me. In my experience, there is nothing. And then the very important thing is we need to make it re-learnable script. Since this is a deployment pipeline and the database is continuously changing, for example, you need to, let's say, we want to only insert certain data. Let's say we insert lookup value ID is 1, and then name is Simon. We just want to insert this one record. If I'm making just simple insert statement, First run will work. Second run, it will work. It might have duplicate record. You have the two of the record will be added. If you have a primary key, maybe this one is not able to add it. But second time, anyway, it continuously making run. Notify that in the production deployment, you might run only once. But since it ties with the role environment, Dev1, Dev2 integration, something like whatever environment you call, based on that, oh, I need to check in something. I have another update script. I have another update script. This one can be run multiple times on your machine, again and again. So it can generate duplicate record, which is we don't want that. That's one of the reasons we need to make the deployment script, pre and post deployment script, need to make it reloadable script. This is kind of annoying thing. Reference structure is better. I will tell you what's the reference structure, because this is possible since we are using SQL CMD mode. SQL CMD mode, you can refer on other files. This is a really great thing. I learned a lot on the SQL CMD here. So basically, SQL CMD is working like this. We have one file has post-deployment.sql. And then post-deployment SQL actually pointing to one of the post-deployment folder. I have the PD current sprint. It's just pointing one file. And then in the PD current sprint, it's going to point another file, say that task number 1235, adding the product. And then actual adding the product has an insert statement is there. So we only need to maintain the current deployment sprint, that post-deployment script, when the people, many developer, oh, I'm working on the task 123, the other one is 245, they just need to adding their change inside of that file only. This is what I explained that, why we cannot using the simple insert statement, because it can make a duplication. The other approach, we can do that. If the ID is not exist, then insert. If it's not, then update, something like that. And merge statement, another option. Also, some of the company can maintain the actual script inside of the inside of one of the table, and then the table will compare the information and execute it. That's the another option. So basically, insert statement, we insert to the table and then run certain stop procedure. That's the another way. Why we cannot using the transition and rollback these particular cases? As I just mentioned, this is not a failure. This is not about deployment failure. It deploys succeed. The problem is it deployed multiple times. That's one of the reasons we cannot maintain transition and rollback. Transition and rollback is supposed to be maintained properly for each of the post-deployment script. So each of the developer need to maintain their own way of the manipulating the data. Okay, let's take a look at that, how to generate the deployment script. So pretty much we are talking about DAC pack deployment. Until now is we just create a DAC pack. We check in the schema and then do some configuration, build, non-build, adding post and pre-deployment script. And then we just build it. Once we build, the output is DAC pack. And the DAC pack contains all schema information. It's not just has change information. All schema information is there. All schema information is there when then we need to compare this DAC pack file against a certain server. So this is schema comparison is happening between the target server and this DAC pack file. And then this change set comes out, including pre-post deployment script together. And then since there is a comparison is happening, there is a lot of things we can add in. Oh, this one need to be compared, this one not need to be compared, something like that. That's what we call pre-configured published XML file. There is a published XML file we can generate it. This published XML file is, I think, most important part, and then most of the cases the DBA team will take care or has a concern. It has a lot of options, tons of options, more than 100 of options is there. And then detailed document is there. And then here is how we can generate the configuration file. So once we click the publish button, then it will show that what is the target publish database. And then it's going to be adding the connection string, and then what's the database name, something like that. Then it has we can create a profile. That profile is the publish XML file. And then instead of the publish button, we can generate the script. That's the best option. I'm recommending to use it. And then there is an advanced button. That advanced button will show that every single of the option, what is a checked, what is non-checked, something like that. Yeah, do not deploy directly. I really don't recommend it because we don't know what happened exactly. So let's take a look at a couple of the options in the publish XML file. One thing about publish XML file, since we need to maintain up to deployment step every single of the cases, every of the environment, so we need to set as a copy always in the file property. That's the one. And then you notify that here is the menu. It shows that the first one is saying that deploy database property. That's one. The second one is say that always recreate the database. I don't know why they made this option, actually. So we supposed to be disable it. And then some extra information is there. Also, another important thing is I'm asking to make it true, which is ignore column order. So by default, this is a false, which is if some developer is adding new column middle of the table, then the table will be rebuilt. But this is not just a developer's mistake. Let's say you have the running environment more than one. Let's say environment 1, environment 2 is running. And then A developer added column A here. B developer adding column B here. We have a completely different sprint. This one deployed on the dev 1, this one deployed dev 2. And then this one is merged on the staging environment, and this one comes as a staging environment later. So while the code merges happen, which one is deployed first on the staging environment? Doesn't matter when the people is checking the latest column, that column can be another order. So while the script merge is happening, the column order can be different, and the deployment time will be different. So this is quite important if you maintain more than one environment. And then this one can also the developer's mistake when they adding the new column in middle of the table, that we can prevent this kind of cases. Yeah, there is a lot of option. Even the replication, partitioning, it has a lot of option in there. Please take a look at it. This is really need to test a lot of things with which option is fit for our business logic. Finally, we can run the script since we generated. And then this is once we generate the SQL output file, the rest of the part we just need to execute it. However, we not blindly execute it. We need to have a review process. Maybe some small databases, not important database, maybe we don't care it. That one sometimes is fine since the changes are pretty much minimum. And then if you have, and then small database, even the rebuild is happen, maybe you don't care. And then some of the downtime blocking, you don't care. But some of the mission critical databases and the quite important database, we have to review what is the result set of this script. Once we have the script is generated, review together with the DBA or who is assigned for the deployment, that person can make it approval, and then this script can go out. And then execution time might be we maintain it shortly, just in case getting problem. So maybe 30 minutes will be roughly good enough. And in case of big table is rebuilt, then rollback will take a long, long time. But today I learned there is 2019 has accelerated database recovery would help for these cases. So that's the pretty much said about the database deployment. So we have the 4 step. We need to put on the source code Git, pretty much schema, information, and then developer can adding some of the database update insert statement on there as a pre-post deployment script. Once it's there, then we're going to build, and build output is come as a deckpack, and the deckpack is going to compare with a target machine and then generate the change script, and then change script we're going to execute it. That's pretty much the older step. Let's put everything together. So we're going to put on, I choose the platform to maintain this pipeline, Azure Devops, and then Azure Devops, so we can show you that individual cases how it's working. So this is my demo example. Any DB server is fine. I'm running on the Azure Kubernetes, so I deploy the AdventureWorks database on the Kubernetes and on Azure, and the database name is AdventureWorks. And then I'm using the Git Azure repo, which is pretty much same as a Git. And then I'm using the Azure Devops pipeline. And then generate script, and then run the script will be there. So this is Azure Pipeline look like. This is certainly free. You can create your own test cases. And then this my Git repository is pretty much open to public. So you can get into look at the how source code look like. So I have the 2 folders. One is the Docker, which is I create the database and put on the Kubernetes. If you are interested about how Docker is working, take a look at how source code is look like. I'm not using the persistent claim at this cases. This is a simple Docker deployment. And then we are pretty much take a look at that, what is on the AdventureWorks. You can take a look at the history what I did. So I just create a simple demo project, and then update certain file, and then long cases about publish XML file, the proper cases publish XML file, I add that. So this kind of information, you can see it together. And then the good thing about Azure DevOps, if I show you, actually it tell you that what exactly changed. So I adding the, this is git ignore file, and then I adding the publish XML file, where it's added always copy output. That's what I added on here. So this is quite convenient. So under the pipeline, there is a two things. One is a build, the other one is release. So build, let's forget about the Docker. This is already created. I have the AdventureWorks. I already built the last change, which is in the product table. I adding one of the column on there. So build is out there. How build pipeline look like? It's pretty simple. This is my build pipeline. And I'm using this Git repository, which is connected, and then master branch, and then nothing much on there. And then I'm using the build agent on Azure. So this is my agent pools. I'm using the Azure one. So nothing need to compare on my local machine and my environment. And then actual job is there is a Visual Studio build, and then I'm building this particular solution. Can I make it bigger? So this particular solution I'm going to build, and this display name, and then solution file, and then latest version. And then here is the thing, where I'm going to put the output file. This is my output directory published folder. It doesn't matter where you put on, since this is, you can imagine that this is happening a Windows VM. Just any folder you want to access, you can go there and then make a build. Any CPU and the list, this is pretty much default option I'm using it. Once you make a build, then the build output file is a deckpack. That deckpack we need to upload it somewhere. That's the we call the artifact. So artifact is, you can imagine that deployment group of the files. So that is we want to deploy somewhere. So this is a so I'm pretty much so I'm going to using the drop, which means it's going to copy over somewhere, and then this is a path to publish, and then I'm using the Azure Pipeline to inside of Azure Devops. I'm going to drop this one. So once we complete the build, the result set is looking like this. So this is a particular build, and then so we prepare the job, and then build is happening. So we can see that this solution file build, and then there is somewhere we can see the published file I copy always, and then model blah blah blah. Where can I see the DAC pack? There we go. This is the AdventureWorks build DAC pack is generated. This is a result set. And then this is a published artifact somewhere, which is actually you can download from here. There is a drop folder. And then published file, it has these 4 informations there. So DLL, and then PDB, and then published XML, and DAC pack, that's the only thing is output. This artifact, definitely you can using another artifact third-party vendor or imaginary any storage, you can use it. This is just simple cases. If we're using the Azure Devops, they support it. That's it. And then release, let's look at it. So actually, I have the 2 versions of the release. One is a simple, and the other one is advanced. The simple means what it's going to do, it just make a publish directly. So I'm downloading an artifact, and then compare to my Azure SQL Server, and then I have login and password, and then I'm using the action is published. This is a SQL package.exe file. So you can take a look at the SQL package.exe file, what option is there. So there is a publish, action is published, and then it's going to compare and run directly. That is the one of the option you can easily go, but which is I really don't recommend it. Unfortunately, this Azure DevOps is built for, all the concept is coming from the pretty much stainless deployment concept. So they didn't think about stateful cases, how we maintain these output file. So this is a release pipeline. But in the release pipeline, actually, I want to access to artifact folder, and then I want to deploy after comparison. The result said I want to deploy it. But unfortunately, this is not possible in these cases. So I'm using a little bit different way. So this is one of the easiest way you can deploy directly. But in advanced concept is how I've changed it. There is a pre-deployment. So pre-deployment does the same thing, but only the difference here, in the action is a script. So this is creating comparison the production server or target server. It's going to generate the script. And then the generate script, I want to put on the artifact later for the deployment, but it's not possible. It's not supporting the Azure DevOps. So I adding the Azure Blob storage, and then copy over that storage, that location. And then this Azure Blob storage, you can assign to the DBA team for asking the review. After they complete the review, basically, they basically approve it. Once they approve it, this change set can go through. So let's take a look at it. I actually, this one show as a fail, reason being I didn't approve it. I want to show in the demo, that's the reason why. So I'm going to create a list. This is the latest version, I believe. AdventureWorks. Okay, I'm going to create it. And then pre-deployment. This is running right now. Oops. Nope. Not cancel. Refresh. Hopefully my connectivity still work. There we go. So we already downloaded the artifact. The artifact is pretty much we see that deckpack file, DLL file, and then a published XML file. It downloaded, and then it's going to compare to the target machine, which is I have IP address and then ID and password is there. We're going to compare it. Let's take a while. In the meanwhile, we can take a look at it. Not this one. This is my container, Azure Blob storage. So I have the Azure Devops. Can I go to up? So I already have a release 11. I'm expecting something else. Wow. All right. So we just built a storage on the container. And then blob prefix is a release 12. So I'm expecting release 12 is generated here. Come on. Really? There we go. So release 12 comes here. Can you see it? How can I make it? Release 12 is just sent there here. So I'm a DBA. I'm downloading this file and then want to take a look at it. What's difference? So I'm going to open it, and then there is this is a oops, sorry. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So this is a publish script look like. So publish script using the SQL CMD mode looks like this way. I don't know how I can run the SQL CMD on Azure Data Studio. So this is shown like this way. And then you're using the database name variable, which is a variable name is AdventureWorks 2017. And then it's going to drop something. It's going to drop one of the view, and then it's going to drop one of the index. And then removing the schema binding from there, it shows a print. And then alter view with adding that particular column is what we added. And then in the table, I'm adding that column. Just remember that the column I added in the middle of the column order. And then it's going to create it again, the view, and then it creating the index on the flight, and then it's going to refreshing that related module. This is a refreshing related module, which means if the view changes something, and then related the SOAP procedure might be not understanding new column is added or not, so that it's going to refreshing this related column as well. And then there is a post-deployment script. So I adding one of the products, say, if the name is not Secret Path Summit 2019, then we're going to insert it. Otherwise, we're going to update it. That kind of the thing is added. And then Kumar is adding something else. So they deleted the product ID is 977. And then this is the older deployment script. So looks like fine for me, except the drop view. But I know that view is not that big. So I'm OK to run it. So where'd it go? So I'm going to here release pipeline. Let me reduce it a little bit. So it has a pre-deployment, and then approval is pending. So once I approve it, then it's going to the next step, which is deploy the production. Maybe I didn't wait for load. Okay. So we're going to get the artifact and then do the pretty much same thing. Honestly, this one is going to compare again, but it will be better once it approves the script that approval script can deploy together. In our company, we are using a little bit different step, so I didn't have much time to complete to using that approved script, but that's certainly you can make the pipeline. So, but this one is actually do the comparison again. But pretty much I'm expecting same script is generating here. Yeah, it takes a while. All right, so this is done. Let's look at it, what they did. So this one is now the action is using publish, and then target database is this. Initialize database, blah, blah, and then drop exactly same thing does. It's going to drop that specific view, and then removing the schema binding. Oh, actually, sorry, this is not a view. This is an index. They dropping the index, and then removing that schema binding for change the column. And then altering the table, we adding the column. And then creating that view and index again. And refreshing the related module. After that, I have the one task is deployed. And then the Kumar is deployed on another task. And then update is completed. This one, pretty much we can make automated. The approval notice, we can send the message to the person who is assigned. And then the person can get an approval as well. Or some of the database, probably you are okay to just make a log instead of actually click the button approval. Some small databases, that one is absolutely can do that too. So that's how pipelines work. Still, there is so many challenges after we get there. So very first thing is we need to check in the database schema on the source code control. That's the very first thing has a lot of challenge. The second part, in my expectation, the Git is the best solution to maintain the source control. So trying to use a Git. And then team need to have the reviewer process to make sure that our deployment script is working fine. And then sometimes we need to change the pipeline. That's another one we need to add it. Security concern, possibly will be there. Do not use SA. Pretty much you need a DB owner permission to the target databases. And then we probably want to add in the unit test. Unit test, there is a T-SQL-T. You may take a look at how unit tests is work. That unit test also we need to add it. That's another one is we need to learn. Things not covered today, but this is quite important. Sprint cycle is also important. We need to understand 2-week sprint cycle, 3-week sprint cycle, agile methodologies, all these kind of information is there. Branching strategy, and then the application is stateless. You can deploy any of the location, but database is not. It has a stateful. We need to have the environment and server. So it has a limited resource. We cannot provide as much as we can. So it has a limited resource. There is a possible for the CI/CD, SS package, SSRS, even the SQL agent job, but it's not fancy. SSIS is pretty much okay. We can use an SSIS deployment. SSRS, there is some of the cases you will have a problem about the permission maintain management, and SQL agent job is still not great. SQL Server on unattended installation, you may want to take a look at it. And then DB project, there is default file group set. We need to configure a little bit inside of a database project. Refactor, this is very important. When we rename the object, we need to using the refactor. Please take a look at it. Refactor is really important. Database variable, cross-database project, and linked server, we need to using the database variable and the reference. And then SQL CMD will help you a lot. SQL CMD is awesome, fantastic. This is one of the reasons DevOps team, in my mind, I want to call it as a DBOps, because typically software engineer come to the DevOps team, and they have zero knowledge how database actually maintenance and these stateful deployments work. So it pretty much need to come from DB team as a DevOps engineering work. So that's one of the reasons I wish to call the DB Ops. Their understand and the methodology is quite different. That's pretty much it today. What time is it? Actually, I have about 10 minutes, a little bit more. So if you have any question, I can answer for that. If not, then I want to give you a little more, three more slides about recent 2019, the licensing changes. This is quite important. Any question? Yes.
Yes. How do you handle a rollback situation in the middle of process? Deployment fail.
Mm-hmm.
Is it an automatic rollback or is it a manual process?
This really depends on the your business logic requirement. So one thing is possible to roll back. You can not just CI/CD. You can think about the manual deployment process as well. When we have the manual deployment while the live traffic is running, you can, if you decide to roll back, what are you going to do? Are you going to restore database or roll back that certain step? So it depends on the application requirement. Sometimes we need to restore the database. Sometimes we need to only roll back that static statement. But typically when I see the cases, rollback means it's not actually roll back that specific cases. We have another apply changes coming to fix this script and then apply it. That's the reason being what I say the rollback is quite challenging. It's not just for those it's not because of CI/CD. It's because of more about live transaction we don't want to lose. But if you are okay with the lose live transaction, I just want to go to exactly the same state before I make a deployment, then you can take a snapshot and then take a rollback before make a deployment. Yes. Yes. You can add it. This kind of the creating snapshot pipeline, you can certainly use a pre-deployment script. So create the snapshot on the pre-deployment script. After you complete the deployment, you can drop the snapshot on the after the deployment. So since it's all completed. Entire database. Right. So there is a couple of challenges there. So maintain the rollback. But if it is a simple database business deployment perspective, you are okay to lose live transaction while we have a deployment, then you can certainly using this option. But many cases is not. So in case if it's fail, then that's one of the reasons each of the post-deployment script, each of the developer need to maintain their transaction and rollback scenario in their cases, the small set. And then when they make a failure, then deployment is going to stop at here. It's not going to moving forward. At the time is we need to get the emergency call. People is getting who is build this deployment script, and then who adding this check-in. This is everything is track is possible in the Azure Devops, so that the person can fix their script, or we decide to remove this feature. So this kind of decision is not, CI/CD can help something, but this is pretty much hard to make a decision in the business logic perspective. So depends on the business requirement, we can decide what approach we want going to do. Any other question? Right. That's, yeah. I can answer a little bit for you after the next license model I can show you. Any other question? Okay, so I have only three more slides. So after SQL Server 19 comes out, I just researched it last 3 days. And then SQL Server license module, this thing is changed. It's kind of very helpful for the DBA workload. If you are using always on, then the previous licensing model, you cannot run the log backup, database full backup, or DBC's check DB. You cannot run the secondary node. When you run the secondary node, then you need to license it that one together. But this is changed. Now you can run these three things on your secondary node. This is not required license. This is great movement. The other one, if you are using multiple cluster, and then only for the DER perspective, and then license model, license cost is quite reduced. So let's say I have a primary database, and then in the same on-premise, I have synchronous database running on same server cluster. And then another IDC center, I'm running the secondary node asynchronous, but I'm not using the user traffic. This is only for the DR purpose. So this is the maximum cases. You can up to 4 clusters, including Azure. Azure cluster. Azure is special. So basically, you cannot on your on-premise, you cannot have the full node for the license perspective. But Azure, they give you the free license for another cluster. So if you run like this, and then all other 3 clusters is not, all other 3 replicas is not serving the user traffic, then you can have only 1 license. You don't need to have the 3 license before, because 4 node means 1 is failover. Other one doesn't matter to serve the user traffic or not. You need to license 3 of them. But now you only need to license 1 of them. One is synchronous, the other one is asynchronous. And then the other exception is Azure. So 3 things. The other one is better. Who is using software assurance? Then if you're using software assurance, then not same, but these 3 similar things, you can apply even the current model. So let's say we are running 2017. You can reduce the license similar like this, what we see before like this. I'm not the Microsoft, so please take a look at it, detail each of the statement, and then you maybe want to consult with Microsoft if you can have reduce your model. This is started from November 1st. That's pretty much it today for me. And then please don't forget session evaluation. Thank you for coming to pass, and then enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.